Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's class. Right, and so today's class is going to be in two parts. Right, first, we will be having like a go. We are going to go over the budget task, right, and maybe find a solution to it. Yeah, and then we are also going to talk about APIs, how to build APIs, and we'll talk about Django API, we'll talk about Django REST Framework, which is a framework for building APIs, right? Okay, so first of all, let's start with the budget task, right? And yeah, from the budget task, we have we were asked to create a budget, like a class budget, right, which I've already done here, and to instantiate with different categories, right? Instantiate the budget with different categories. That is in your init method now, which is this special method right here. You have to pass in a parameter. In this case, I named my parameter category. This category is standing for different kind of budgets that we have. So in my case, and in from the assignments, I just mentioned about three. And from other submissions, I saw some people also implemented other, other budgets for other things. So for this solution, we are just going to use 3. We are going to instantiate the class with 3 budgets, right? All right, so also in my init function, I have an amount which is set to default at 1000. I could also pass this amount as a parameter in here, right? But for the sake of the assignment which we are given, is the instruction says instantiate your class with the category, right? So I just set the default amount here at 1000. Right, so and you also notice I have methods here. In your assignments, you guys were asked to create methods to perform transfers within budgets, between budgets, right? To perform deposits into a budget, to check balance, to withdraw, and some people also implemented some other functions. All right, so for the sake of this solution, we're just going to implement these 4 methods, right? So first off, when you create a budget and you're asked to instantiate a budget, right? So what that means is you have to call when you run a budget class, the parameters that you have here, like parameters you're asked to pass in. When you're asked to, for example, if I don't have anything in here, or I probably have my category set to something, a string food, then I will not need to pass in anything. But if you're asked to instantiate the budget, what you do is, let's name this variable obj. What you do is you call the budget class this way, right? This way, I have created an instance of a class budget. I can create as many instances as I want to. What this does is it allocates this particular instance to a space in your computer, that you are using to run this project, right? So I can have as many instances of projects as I want. I just have to rename this, right? So right, so let me just return this to category. Okay. Right now, so instantiate this, we have to pass in a category, right? Okay, so we are creating an instance. Also, I said I was going to print out something for you guys, so you can see what trying. So let's run this. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to print out. Okay, so when you print out this type of category, you will notice that this is a class of, like, it's a class. The type is a class, right? So what that means is this category is pointing to this class, right? So that is what that is trying to. So you would see what each of these, like what each of these means, is pointing to a class of budgets, right? So here we instantiated clothing, that is a budget of clothing, and this budget is inheriting all of these methods, right? It has access to all of these methods. If we call category now dot, then we have access to each of these methods. We can call those deposits. If we print out this, so we have this is a deposit method because this function is returning what? This is a deposit method, right? So let's quickly create some logic for each of these, right? So for the deposits, what that means is you are like adding to the amount that we have already. So we're adding to this amount. So we just call in our self dot amount, and we add to it. So self dot amount, which is pointing to this, and then we do plus equals to amount. So that means that we have to pass in like an amount we are depositing. So we pass in an amount here. And when we call this deposit, we have to pass in, maybe you're depositing 500. So you have to pass in 500 in there. So we can return self that amount. So we'll see that the deposit was successful. So we are supposed to get 1,500 back as our output. So which is what we have here. So that is like a very simple form of depositing, right? So and for the withdrawal, it's just reverse. So I just copy this, Control C and Control V, right? That's like normal Stack Overflow stuff, right? We all do that anyways. So solve that amount minus, so that's just it. And what we'll call the withdraw, right? So we call the withdraw method here. So if we withdraw 700, right? Okay, so let's do the math. We are adding 500 to, so that's 15, and we're deducting 700. So we should have, if we do the math, so I don't know. Okay, so all right, so we're supposed to pass in amount here, right? So also passing amount here, let's run that again. And yeah, so first we deposited 500 and then we withdrew 700, we're left with 800. So that was like a very simple way of depositing. Okay, so to check balance, right? So we want to check balance. What this check balance is actually useful for is probably when you want to transfer, right? So when you want to transfer, what this check balance does is like it returns a boolean, true or false, to tell us if the amount we are transferring is more or less than what we have in our account. So let me just implement that. Okay, so we have to pass in amount in here, right? And do if self dot amount is less than amount, right? So return the boolean false, else just return true, right? So this is going to be useful here in our transfer method. Now, okay, so I've called the deposit method, I've called the mirror method. To call our transfer method, that means we have to instantiate another budget. So this now is being stored in another location in memory. This is being stored in another location in memory. These are two different instances. So we are going to instantiate category 1. We can call the deposit function in category 1 and maybe pass in 800. So probably I will need to add some string formatting here. This is our deposit for clothing or whatever. Okay, so there's like okay, so this is deposit for clothing, and this is withdrawal for clothing also, right? So and okay, so let's print this. Print. Yeah, so this is deposit for pin. So I'm going to call okay, so first of all, before I call the transfer, let's do the logic, right? So to perform a transfer, that means you are depositing from one budget and you are adding, I mean you are withdrawing from one budget and you're depositing to another budget, right? So how you go about that is just the self whatever budget you are using now, you just do self the check balance, right? Self the check balance, you pass in your amount because check balance takes its parameter. So you pass in the argument amount. That means you have to pass in an amount argument here also, and then you have to pass in probably your category. Yes, you have to pass in that. So if self the check balance returns equals to true, right? So if self the check balance returns true, you do self amount minus, right? equals to amount. Then you add. Now you do to add, you have to do category dot amount plus equals to amount. So what we did here was the category we passed in here is the category that we want to deposit into. So when we call category, which is for clothing now, okay, let's name this transfer is equals to okay, so we've instantiated this and this. So let's perform a transfer. That would be transfer is equals to clothing or category dot, because this category is for clothing. So the category dot transfer, and they will pass in an amount we want to transfer. So we want to transfer 500, and the category we are transferring to, which is probably, let's say, food. Okay, so we're transferring from food, let's say entertainment, right? Yep. Okay, so let me finish this. So you return something here, like, so let me just copy from my tutorial, from what I've prepared in order to waste time. So you just return this, blah blah. Okay, so what I did here was I returned you have transferred this string formatting, the amount to be here, and category dot category. What this means is a category which you are transferring to, which is what you passed here, dot category, right? Which is when you instantiated the budget class, the category you passed in here. So with this, you've been able to check. So if what this check balance does is it takes in the amounts and check, do you have 500 in your self dot amount? If the amount you have is less than the amount you're passing, you get this, or else you get through. So that's just how it goes, right? This is basically the assignment. Like, I don't know, this is about 42 lines. Yeah. So, and you can also add some other functionalities. Maybe you want to check some other things, perform some other functionalities, right? So you could do that. So basically that's the assignment, and congratulations to those who got the full mark anyway. Yeah, by the way, people got the full mark. Yeah. So okay, now we're moving to today's class, which is about Django REST Framework. So first of all, we have to understand what an API is, right? So we have to understand what an API is. And API is like, okay, so I'm going to explain this like in a very basic form. Let's imagine, let's take for example, we have so let's take for example a scenario. There's a warehouse, right? And you're trying to retrieve something from a warehouse. You're trying to retrieve a toolbox or screwdrivers or stuff like that. But you don't know the location where all of these things are. You don't know the location of where all of these things are, right? So we have to understand. So you would need like a guide or something. So let's say there's a store manager. He gives you a menu of where these things are and where these things are located, and like there are some set of instructions in that menu, like you have to do this, touch here, and the manager doesn't want you to mess up the whole place, right? So now the warehouse is like the database, right? The warehouse is like the database, and the things in the warehouse are like data you want to retrieve. The screwdriver, the toolbox you want to retrieve is the data. Now, the menu the store manager gives you is like the API, and this API is presenting all how you would retrieve this data from the database to you. So that's just like basic implementation of the API. So we're going to see how we can implement that in Django, right? And before you could do that. You can implement that in Django. Of course, you have to have installed Django, which I think there was a class on that already. And then install Django, and you right. Okay, so let's just dive in. Let's just dive in. So how do I share my screen? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and kind of share. Share. All right, so yeah, so as you can see on the screen, I already created the Django app, right? And then okay, so I have this open also to run my app. I already created the Django app. I created an application in here. So I from last class, you guys should know how to do that, right? When you are creating a Django app, you just run Django admin start project and whatever you want to name your project or whatever. And to okay, so what else? To start your project, Python manage.py run server. That's to start the server. To migrate or to make migrations. That's when you create like models in your DB. Do Python manage.py make migrations. To migrate, you do Python manage.py migrate. And to create an app, which I did earlier. So you just do Python manage.py start app, and you give it a name of app or whatever. Name of app. Let me just create this so you see. Right. So you see in here, if you refresh this, you should have name of app in here. So when you start an app in Django, you have all these files, models where you create your models, tests. I think in the last class, or our instructor told us how we could write tests and views. So today we are just going to be, all what we'll do is will be based in these views. It's just how to install Django REST Framework and how we could use it. But before we even go to Django REST Framework, as the name says, it's a framework. That means it's something some sets of people they came together to develop. Django itself has this functionality of building API like raw Django. We can use it to build API. So maybe I can quickly show you how we can go about that. So to do that, we have some libraries or modules we would need to import in our file. So we would import this module, HTTP. All right, so we'll say from Django.http import JSON response. Yeah, because okay, so don't mind these lines. They are just some minor issues with my ID. So in case you don't see these lines in your own, when you are implementing, just say, it has to be like the instructors and just ignore those lines, right? So, and also from Django.shortcuts, there is some other module we have to import, which is get object or 404, right? So what JSON response does is it's converts your whatever data you're passing to the user in the front end, it converts it to JSON. And then this is used to return status codes also. So we just define, okay, so let's say define home or whatever, home, then we pass in requests, right? So, and yeah, from last class, the instructor used class-based views. So there are like 2 or 3 types of views. We have the function-based and the class-based views. Like, so there's 2. So, and to return your JSON response, you could just do data equals let's say message, this is a JSON response, right? So, and we do return JSON response data. Okay, so before we go forward, then we have to configure our URLs, right? So we create a new file here, urls.py, and then we have to register the app in here, path API /. Okay, so we say include, we have to include that, include and the name of our app, which is the name of app. I actually wanted to implement that in the API, but let's just continue. Our name of app.urs, right? So, and in our name of app.urs, now we create the file. So I just copied these because something very similar. And then, yeah, paste these, remove these also. And then we import the view which we created. So from views, from dot views imports home, which is the name of the view we created. So we say path, right? And just put a / there, /views. And then you can give it a name. Let us name it API, and this should be home, right? So that should be home. So I think if we visit this endpoint, right, localhost endpoint, like the base URL /API/, then we should see this message. This is a JSON response, right? Okay, so I'm going to share my browser screen also now. All right, so okay, so let's go. It's 1,000. So probably our app is not started, so we have to start the server. Python managers py run server, right? So and let's visit these again. Page not found, blah blah blah. So I think we haven't registered our app. So yeah, we have to do that. I forget that. The name of app. Great. So registered, and then we go to /API /. Yep, and we got a JSON response. This is a JSON response, right? So that is just like very basic implementation of creating an API. So now we go to Django REST Framework. Django REST Framework, and maybe I should open up the documentation. That's grf. Yeah, so we're just going to follow the documentation. I don't know everything. In fact, I don't cram anything. The simplest command in Django, I Google it. So you guys don't think I cram anything or any of the mentors cram anything at all. We Google the simplest thing you can ever think of. Yeah, I do that a lot. So from the from Django documentation that we have here, this is Django REST Framework, by the way. And then, so let's just follow the requirements. You have to install Python, we've done that. Install Django, we've done that. And we highly recommend blah, blah, blah. All right, let's just move down to these. So to install Django REST Framework, we have to do pip install Django REST Framework, right? So I come here, stop the server, clear, and I paste that. Okay, so I'm in a virtual environment and I'm using pip, right? So pip is like the type of virtual environment. Yeah, so when we do pip install Django REST Framework, I really hope this is not going to take long. So, and yeah, so okay, let's continue to go through the documentation. There's like a GitHub repo, I think. Let's open that up. Yeah, by the way, I'm monitoring the stream. I have a problem setting up my virtual environment after using Bitcoin. I still get 4.0, blah, blah, blah. Okay, 4.0. Probably Michael, you can just probably paste, maybe send a message on Slack and we will to place this training for this Python. Okay. Yeah, okay, so this GitHub repo. Okay, so you can just go through it anyways. And then is this done? Yeah, done. Great. So after we install, we have to add REST framework to our installed apps, which is here. You can find that in your settings, and then we add these copy. Yeah, Control C, Control V is very, very, very convenient for me, right? Yeah, so we registered our app, and then we have to, if you're intending to use a browsable API, you probably want to add, yeah, we might want to do that. Let's go Control C, and we go to our URLs. No, not this one, the project URL. Let me say, or please don't mind my dogs. Okay, so when we say, yeah, we've done that, right? So what else? Note that the URL path can be whatever you want. Yeah, so what that means is you can name this whatever you want, right? So, and then all right, so you can just go through the rest of the documentation, right? So let's view the browsable API. I think probably I need to mute. Okay, yeah, quiet now, right? So yeah, where were we? We added these. Okay, so we want to visit this endpoint, right? So we just do copy these and then we visit the endpoints. So what do you mean by browsable API is like it presents you like or I put it a UI. Oh, the server is not started. Right, so let's do this again. Okay, so it says what is it saying? 4.4 found. Okay, URL API class does not match any. How are we getting that? Okay, did you do anything wrong? We added REST framework already. In our settings, yeah, we have REST framework here. And okay, so if you're intending to yes, we did this. Okay, so let's try that again. Yeah, API auth these, right? Right, so we have pip install Django REST Framework install app and API out. Right, this should work. Okay, so let's see how we can debug this REST framework. Did I? Create done. Server started. Okay, so let me check my environment files. If DRF is there, it is there. Double check. Yep, this is here. Let me check the URLs file. Yep, it is also there. And then we have this. So let's check the other API, the other endpoints that works. Okay, so let's see. We have to visit /login. Oh, okay. So yeah, we do have to visit /login. All right. So before we can use the browser API, I think I get where this is going. We have like to create an endpoint of our own, which is like what I prepared for the next class. So yeah, so we're able to get the browsable API for Django REST Framework /login. And by the way, I was able to get that because from here we could see we have two endpoints that we could visit, log in and log out, right? So yeah, that's basically what I prepared for this class. Just what I do again, I went through the documentation, right? So just go through the documentation. Whatever you don't get, Google it, and yeah, you'll be fine, right? So thank you guys for coming to today's class. That's all we have for today. And tomorrow, okay, the class will be announced probably maybe not be tomorrow, but sometime again this week. We are going to continue. We'll build. So talking about status code, HTTP verbs. We have like HTTP posts, endpoints, get to know what post, patch, put, and all of those HTTP verb, what they are used for. And some other things, you could also go ahead and try out. Actually, there's an example in the DRF documentation that you can just go through. Yeah, so okay, let's go quick start. Okay, so there's a tutorial you could just breeze through, yeah. So, and I'm going to see you guys in the next class, right? Hopefully you guys understood the assignments on the classes and the solution, right, on the classes and the objects, and also this. So if there's any question, you can ask on the BE Python channel, or you can message any of the mentors. We are ready to available, right, to answer your questions. And yeah, see you guys soon. Bye bye, and have a good night.